Here depicts what we've been working on. We actually did some post-Sandy LiDAR aircraft flights. It's basically radar with lasers, and they beam the beach to get a picture of the post-Sandy beach. What they figured out was that Sandy storm removed 1.5 million cubic yards of sand from the beaches in Rockaway, from beach 16th to beach 149th. So what are we going to do about it? Well, there's almost everything the Corps does, we do because Congress writes a law and tells us to do it. So it does limit our flexibility, but we have to always have authority. And what we had is this public law, PL 8499, a law, and it's called Flood Control and Coastal Emergencies. And when there is an extraordinary event, which Sandy qualified, Irene didn't, it allows us to go back to the original federal project and fill in the gap, fill in the pothole that the storm left. In this case, 1.5 million cubic yards. So I'm here to say that at least 1.5 million cubic yards of sand will be placed back on the beach at federal expense as soon as possible. But wait, there's more. Sorry, bad joke. There's been new changes to Public Law 8499. Honestly, the Corps of Engineers is still assessing what the Sandy Law actually said. It's some 40 pages. We don't have all the guidance. There's some things we can assume, some things we can't assume. But the law itself says that not only are we going to use PL 8499 to fill in the pothole, so to speak, what the storm did, we're going to return it back to design conditions. And this means more sand. Much more sand. It means our task is to construct a restored new beach to the original authorized design, which is a beach sand, a beach berm, plus 10 feet above sea level and 100 feet wide. But this is our interim. This is just a fix. This is the short term. This is the small part. This is the easy task in a lot of ways. Basically, if you want to get gee whiz, it takes 1 million cubic yards of sand to fill the Empire State Building. So, you put a few Empire State Buildings worth of sand. Now, this sand has to be clean sand. It has to match the original beach characteristics. We're planning on using sand from the inlets as well as offshore borrow area. Of course, it has to be clean sand, and it has to be sand that's compatible with all activities. Basically, you may have witnessed many of these dredge projects. There's usually a dredge boat that vacuums up the sand, attaches a pipe, pumps it on the beach, and it's moved by bulldozers. It goes pretty quickly. It's a pretty quick process. It doesn't make it easy, but it is simple. So what's happening right now? I told you things aren't business as usual, so we have actually been working on designs. The design work's underway. This rehabilitation, it doesn't require a study. We're just doing it. That's done. But nothing in the law said that we could bypass NEPA. We can't bypass environmental regulations. We can't put dirty sand or anything bad on the beach. So we do have to obtain all our environmental permits. We have to complete the NEPA process. We have a legally mandated contracting process. There's not that many contractors that actually do this kind of business. And again, we all have been experiencing how slow it can actually be, the contracting process can be. Basically, this work, we expect it to take about 4 to 6 months to do the whole stretch. Now, it doesn't mean the beach is going to be closed for that whole stretch. You basically only close a little portion of it, maybe a 1,000-foot portion of the beach for about 3 or 4 days, and they move the pipe, and they close another portion of it. So it's not incompatible with summer. It just might be a little different. And for those weeks that it's in front of your house, you might be watching the process and kind of disturbed. Okay. I wish I could say we'd be out there tomorrow, but in all honesty, with what I've discussed, we've targeted June to start work. Maybe we could do it earlier, but that's what we're looking at right now to accomplish everything we need to do. So again, that's the beginning. That's rehabilitation work. So what do we do in the long term? I threw this slide up here to talk about you know, our choices aren't limitless. There's only a few things we can do. Here's this little graphic with the lighthouse. We can accommodate the ocean. What? Put the lighthouse on stilts. We could build a big thing, line of protection, protect the lighthouse. We could do some beach renourishment to protect the lighthouse this way. Maybe not as hard as that structure. Or we could retreat, move backwards. Those are our only options. It's not rocket science. This is what we can do. So this is what the reformulation study is going to do. We needed more than $1 million to complete the study. We didn't have the federal funding. This is basically what I could say without people getting mad at me, but funding should no longer be an issue. So, that's all I can really say about that. And this is going to be an accelerated schedule completion. Again, this isn't business as normal. This isn't just slow. This is going to be as fast as we can do it and do it right. This is an immense opportunity. It's just a shame it had to come at such cost. But this is an immense, once-in-a-lifetime chance to actually build this correctly and something that's lasting. And we should all have a sense of, you know, this is going to take a while. It's going to take a little while. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of interaction. But this is going to be one for our kids. And we're going to do it right. We have the chance. And that's an exciting opportunity we don't often get. You know, we're usually just plugging holes, you know, putting spackle on. But this isn't it. This is different. Well, like I said, we have to integrate now into this report that was 75% done. We got a new baseline here, Sandy Lessons. Again, we're working with our partners, City of New York Parks and State. And listen, the alternatives will not be selected behind closed doors. Okay, there's no secret meetings. We're going to make sure that this is an integrated process. Now, again, the next major step, we're going to be working this concurrently while we're filling the beach. We're going to start having serious discussions about alternatives that we want to implement for construction as early this summer. Now, we still have a lot of core requirements and bureaucracy. You guys know this. But, again, this is business as usual. We're going to be meeting with you guys. These are going to be heated debates and discussions. But we're moving forward as rapidly as we can. What are we dealing with here? Long-term shoreline erosion. If we don't put sand in, the beaches are going to move backwards. We have inundation damage. We just witnessed the Ivy League education on inundation damage. This is pretty good. We know what this is now. We have wave attack damage. That's what happened to all the houses on the front area of the boardwalk. But here, on this reformulation study, we don't want to leave out the rest of Rockaway and Jamaica Bay. We have to address Breezy Point. We have to address Broad Channel. We have to address Howard Beach. We need to look in bigger area. Now, I'm not saying we can solve all these problems, but it's the Rockaways in Jamaica Bay. It's not just Beach 16 to Beach 149. There's a bigger area. So we're going to address that. And that's something that we're definitely working on. Again, there's been a lot of discussion of this. There's two categories of alternatives we can look at. Beach stabilization alternatives. This is to keep the sand in place. Beach restoration and nourishment. Well, we know this. Groins. We know these things. Groins work to hold the sand in place. The sand protects the beach. It's not the solution for everything, but it could stabilize sand. So we're going to look at that with our ocean engineers. A groin is what we call a jetty. What some people call a jetty. Jetties are generally a groin that's at the end, at an inlet. And, sorry, I should have explained that a little better. Now, there's one problem with the groins. They block sand moving. So another alternative is removal of groins and letting the sand move. It's just an alternative. There's another one here called T-groins, which are even more restrictive. And quite honestly, they might not be fully compatible with recreation that we like to do around here. So there's breakwaters you can do. You can do breakwaters. That's would basically be like a jetty that runs perpendicular to the beach. Or, excuse me, parallel to the beach. Thanks. Sand management. That's another way of talking about moving sand around, pumping it from one area to another, allowing it to go under channels, under inlets. It's a whole science of sand management. It's a very popular thing. That's one of the items we're going to address in the new report. I'm sorry. I'm going to just finish this up and then you can speak. I'm almost done, just a couple more minutes here. Coastal armoring. This is something new and we weren't looking at, but now we're certainly looking at. Dunes. Dunes provide a lot of protection. Actually, dunes provide a lot of protection. Reinforced dunes are basically dunes that hidden inside the dune is something big like a bunch of rock or a seawall that can provide an extra level of protection. You know, we can go back and look at tidal closure gates that were once an alternative. Those do have some environmental costs. They have some operations and maintenance costs. So that'll be a very, very big discussion. That's going to be a big discussion across the whole harbor. That's not just Rockaway. Then it's one of the alternatives. Oceanfront road raising. Threw that one in. That's possible. Seawalls and bulkheads. That's another thing that has been built in the past. It's not as popular anymore. Hard structures are not as popular and often are considered environmentally unfriendly. These seawalls or bulkheads could be standalone, or they could be integrated with a boardwalk of some sort. These are all alternatives that we got to work with our partners and discuss. So I don't have any answers to this yet, and I'm sorry about that, but we're working on it. Now these alternatives, I got to put this in here. We're going to look at benefits versus costs, the best engineering and science. It's got to be environmentally sound. It's got to be suitable to the non-federal partners and the public, and it's suitable to our uses. We don't want to destroy Rockaway to make it Rockaway. So we've got to be sensitive to this. It's got to be something sustainable and reliable. We don't want to have to keep coming back and holding these meetings and doing this again. So basically, my conclusion tonight is that we're getting a new beach from Beach 16th to 149th. Construction starts this summer. If everything works out, everything's proper, construction starts this summer. And I really mean this. We're going to work with our partners and the public to investigate and construct new measures. We're going to limit beach erosion. We're going to provide storm damage protection in Rockaway and all of Jamaica Bay. And that's it. That's all I have to do now.